joined by Jeff Gordon, driver the number 24 Drive to End Hunger Chevrolet. Jeff is third in points, 27 out of the lead. Coming off his win last week at Martinsville, Jeff has one win here at Texas, 2009. And talk about this weekend, Jeff. 3 races left, all that momentum coming out of Martinsville. What's your outlook for the rest of the year?
Yeah, no, real positive. Not just because of Martinsville, just in general, things have been building. The momentum's been building for this team since since Chicago, and we've run good at a lot of different racetracks. We've been qualifying better, which is something I stressed before we got into the chase and that we needed to do, and we've been doing that. And Martinsville was fantastic. Of course, it's a short track, and this is an intermediate, and so I think that test that we did in the race test we did here last week and the race that we ran here earlier in the season, is probably more of what we're building our confidence on coming in this weekend. More so than just that win at Martinsville. The win at Martinsville, I think, was a great team booster, and obviously good for points. But it's really about having a car and the team and all the setup that you need to run well at a track like this. It's gonna get us the results on Sunday.
Great, thanks a lot. We'll open up for questions. Please start with your name and affiliation. We'll start here with Ed.
Ed Hinton, ESPN.com. Jeff. Kyle Busch was talking about a while ago that if the top 2 were to have trouble here Sunday, then all of a sudden you bunch up and you got a 5-man chase and the public likes to see it and all that. And he said, but I bet you the top 2 don't. And basically he's saying this duel between the 2 is just an incredible thing to see. Realistically, considering that it's those 2, what do you either today or the next week, what do you think the realistic chances are of this thing bunching up, considering the 2 on top?
Every week will tell us. Even if you take that scenario a little further, one of them potentially having an issue is possible, but both of them, I think that even narrows the percentages down even more. So all I know is that none of that changes our game plan and our approach. We've got to go out and execute and put the best results up that we can. What those guys do is somewhat out of our control, and we got to try to put pressure on them and put fast race cars out there to do that. And then see what the results are after each race. Even last week we win the race and still we really didn't gain that much on those guys. They're very solid teams, solid drivers. They run good everywhere, and I expect them to run good these remaining 3 races as well.
All right, we're gonna go to the right side of the room. We have Mark, Woody, Bob, and Claire.
Mark Garrow, PRN.
Oh, hey.
How close do you need to be to get them to talk about you and consider you somebody really, steaming up the rearview mirror going into Phoenix or going into Homestead? How close do you think you have to be to really get them having to think, okay, I need to think about the 48, the 20, but now I better be concentrating a little bit on the 24? Well,
I'm probably more thinking about going into Homestead, of what those points need to be, and it's hard to make up more than 10 points on either one of those guys in a single race. So I would think that you'd need to be within 10 or 12 points at Homestead. I do know we had a great test at Homestead. I felt like we had a very fast race car, and I would love to be in that position at Homestead because I do think we could put some pressure on them. Those guys make very few mistakes. We're not expecting anything out of them this week, next week, or the week after that. All we're doing is trying to do our job the best that we can. But it would be pretty exciting for our race team to go into Homestead and be 10 or 12 points out. That'd be pretty exciting.
Woody
Kane with Motor Racing Network to your right. Along those same lines, Tell me a little bit about going to Phoenix. The first time you guys went there, the Gen 6 car was still almost brand new, and you think that things will be much different this time? I know there was a tire test there, and what kind of a race are you looking for there this time, and your prospects for that track?
Yeah, since they repaved, Phoenix is not our best track, so we've got some work to do there. I came into this looking at two tracks that were on our radar of tracks we need to improve at, and that was Kansas and Phoenix. Kansas, we came out with a third-place finish. If we could make those kinds of improvements for Phoenix, I feel pretty good about the other two.
We'll go to Bob Pockris.
Bob Parker, Sporting News. Is it strange to have to hope that these guys have mistakes and have problems?
Man, the thing is, I love just even the fact that we're in the conversation right now. So I'm just excited that we're not talking about me retiring and what changes need to happen to our team. I mean, you got to understand those are the conversations and questions I've been getting asked most of this season, and I understand. Our results and our stats have not been good enough to have any other questions be asked. So now they are. Now we're getting asked different questions, and I'm fine with all of them. I mean, we're not going into anything hoping or wishing anything bad on anybody. We're just proud to be where we're at, and we just hope that we can keep that up, and we've got momentum. We've got a lot of excitement within the team. We're going to the racetrack having fun, whether we're testing, whether we're racing. I just want to keep that going all the way to Homestead. No matter what the results are when this thing's over, we'll be able to hold our heads up high. But I would like it to be a little bit more interesting when we get there. and at this point, you can ask me all the questions in the world. My answers are kind of be the same. Let's wait and see what happens after this race. Well, let's wait and see what happens after Phoenix. It just, you can't predict what's going to happen. You can't sit here and say, oh, well, there's a million things that can go wrong for every race team that's out there. So we're just going to go and focus on the things that we're doing, make sure that we don't have those issues, and we have good results.
Claire, to your right.
Claire Beeline, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. It seems like in the sport when you try too hard, it just doesn't work, and that you think about the leaders in the chase and those that could get in, really, really working hard to try to get it or get into that championship run. Do you remember times when you ran for championships? Does it just seem to come to you and feel right the years that you did win championships? And if you could sort of address trying so hard to capture it and whether that works or not.
Yeah, in my experience over the years, most of the times when you try too hard, you fail. You've got to push yourself within the limits of the car and within the limits of yourself. And there's some tracks that you have to mentally and physically push yourself. This being one of them right here for qualifying. This is a track where the grip level is very high. It is an intense lap, and you've got to mentally push yourself harder than you think that the car, and push the car harder than you think that it's capable of running. There are moments like that where you do maybe need to try a little harder, but I would say most of the time, it's just trying to find those limits and be within them, because the closer you are to the limits, the more chance of mistakes that are made. So, as we all know, every green flag pit stop, entry on a pit road, every restart, every lap, is so crucial at this point that it's all about being calm and confident, and that's the thing that I think separates the top 5 or 6 teams from the others that are out there right now, is that those teams all have quite a bit of confidence in what they're doing.
All right, we're going to come to the left side of the room, starting with Wolfgang.
Wolfgang Monzer, Range Press Agency, Jeff. Jamie is leading together with Matt Kenseth the championship. You are great in the chase points. Are you still sharing information technical-wise, or you keep it now to yourself in case you will find technically an advantage at your car?
We're not sharing anything with Matt. If he wants to share with us, that'd be fun. No, we're business as usual at Hendrick. now, if we get to Homestead and we're in the thick of this thing, then I don't know, that might change slightly. I mean, people are human, people are competitors, but at this point, no. It's just going along as we always do. We've got a database full of information. I think we have a system that, it's just all about what information is put in there. And then after that information is put in there, it's wide open to our engineers to gather that information and what they do with it. Just even today, we were comparing driver inputs and data from each run that we made, setups, all that stuff, and it's pretty much close to being live information. So yeah, I'll let you know how the debrief goes tomorrow.
Nate?
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. Jeff, at this track, it seems as if there's been some really good battles for the lead between championship contenders the last few years. There was Johnson and Keselowski last year, Edwards and Stewart in 11, and in 07 it was Johnson and Kenseth. Is there something about this track that kind of, more so maybe than other mile-and-a-half tracks, maybe like Atlanta, where it produces some good side-by-side battles if you have two really good cars like toward the end of a race?
Well, I think the thing is, we pretty much know that to be a real factor for the championship, you've got to be good on the mile and a halves. I mean, that's been kind of known for the last several years. So you get down to this point in the season and you start to narrow it down to those teams that are running for the championship, and pretty much all of them are going to be good on these mile and a halves. This is a track that has really matured and aged well, that has offered more side-by-side racing, fall off in the lap times, which I think contributes to some great racing. And then you have the championship battle going on top of that, and those guys being competitive. It definitely has the making of great racing.
Jerry Fraley from the Dallas Morning News. If I could change the subject for one moment, please. Jeff Burton's going to have less of a presence next year, maybe no presence on the Cup racing. I was wondering, does he have a statesman status within the garage among other drivers, and can you envision what it'll be like not having him around the garage area next year?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to really comment on it until you know what it's really going to be. I spoke to Jeff when we were here testing, and he didn't necessarily allude to me he wouldn't be in a car next year, but I mean that's possible. And if it was, he'd certainly be missed. I mean, I've almost my entire Cup career, Jeff certainly the whole time I've been in NASCAR, I went into the Nationwide Series, and Jeff was very strong driver in that series, and I've always had a lot of respect for him, other than the time he wrecked me here. And he's a good guy. I think he's a smart race car driver, and I value his opinions that he has when he's analyzing the sport and the cars and just kind of looking at the broader picture. He's got a good perspective and very level head about it. So. I think, and he seems to be very excited about, his son racing right now as well. So, but yeah, I think he'll be a part of the sport next year, and as long as he is, he's going to be contributing something that is valuable.
Carlos.
Hey Jeff, Carlos Mendez, Fort Worth Star-Telegram. You know Jimmy so well. Is it possible to fluster him on the track? Do you or Matt know what button to push on him?
It's just the speed button. You just got to have more speed than him. That's why it's very rare it ever happens. Those guys are just really, really good. They've got a group that's been together for a long time, and they've been through a lot together. And they get into this position, and they know how to step up at the right moments. And you can't. It's hard to put pressure on them. And I think everybody talks about it. I mean, the 10 tracks in the Chase are really good tracks for him, and I think that they go into every chase feeling like they can win it, because they go to the majority of the tracks feeling like they can win. I mean, the fact that he finished 5th at Martinsville, I think was, the most. I mean, like that was a huge letdown to him, because those guys are so good there. And when a guy goes their track and he's let down because he finishes 5th, that tells you how good they are. So, we saw last year that they're not flawless, that anything can happen in racing. So, again, I'm going to just say my answer is kind of the same, where it's not about them, it's about us just going and doing our jobs. Hopefully we can continue to step up a little bit more and try to find a way to put some pressure on them, because that is, I think, the only thing, and I don't even know if it's really been done yet where anybody's really put pressure on them other than a little bit last year.
Middle of the room was Stan here.
Stan Creekmore with RPMtonight.com in the middle, George. Okay. Can you think of any other season in your entire racing career where you were challenged or faced the same challenges as you do now as you run for the championship?
Oh, I faced much larger challenges than this. I mean, not even being in the conversation is a bigger challenge than that. Not even being in the chase is a bigger challenge. I'm pretty excited we got that win last week, because we've had seasons where we didn't win races either. And I'm not saying we couldn't still be in this conversation without winning that race, but I've had a few years throughout my career, even before I got in the Cup Series and in the Cup Series, that have been more challenging than this one. The one that the challenges that stand out to me this year is just how when we had the cars capable of getting results earlier this year, we just couldn't seem to get it. Call it luck, call it whatever you want. We just weren't executing. We weren't putting ourselves in position. We certainly weren't getting the results. And then the times when nothing went wrong, we didn't have the performance to get the results. So this has been a pretty big turnaround for us. We never stopped fighting, which is what I'm most excited about. But we also did that last year. I mean, last year we struggled to get in, and of course we all know about that Richmond race last year. But to me, what we did in the chase was actually very similar to what we're doing now. So this just getting in seems to be the bigger challenge to us than when we're actually in it. And now, of course, making up 27 points on Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, that is definitely a big challenge. And at this point, I don't even think we're really focused on that gap. We're really just focused on doing our jobs, because I think realistically we know that unless those guys have a couple bumps in the road, probably not going to make those points up on them, throughout 3 weeks.
Jeff Hood.
Hey, Jeff Hood of RacingToday.com. It looked like you really enjoyed the win last week at Martinsville. I'm just curious, it's been 8 years since you won there. What did you do with the grandfather clock?
I enjoyed it immensely. That was awesome. I was actually proud of my burnout, and it's been a while. It was very late when I left that racetrack, just because I wanted to soak it all in and see the team enjoying that, and my wife and just Rick, everybody. You got to understand, the grandfather clock you see is not the grandfather clock we get. That's more of a prop. So ours is shipped to us in a box. I don't even know if we've taken delivery of it yet. Maybe we have, but we have not made any decisions with it just yet. But certainly want to put it somewhere where the team can view it and enjoy it. My offices are right above where the 24 and 5 shop are, so maybe we can find a way to display it where everybody on the team can look at it.
All right, Dustin and Lewis to wrap it up.
Dustin Long, Motor Racing Network. Jeff, you talked earlier about being calm and confident your teams need to be at this point in the stage in this championship chase. Can you give us a sense of what the storm is like, to be in the middle of the storm, in the sense of being in the title chase? outside looking in one sense, I would say that some weeks you guys are so busy that that's probably a good thing. It keeps your mind off it. So what is the storm like, and what is it like even for the crew guys?
Yeah, you're absolutely. This is one of the busiest seasons I've ever had. The testing rules changed things this year. We've done two Goodyear tire tests on top of that. So, and with those changes, a new car, compared to last time we had open testing, I didn't have 2 young children as well, keeping me busy when I am at home. So we also, our whole team debriefing meetings that take place now that didn't used to exist. So this year, just new car testing, everything that goes into trying to be competitive, not to mention taking care of our sponsors. It has been one of the most hectic ones that I've had. So it's been good in a way because just to your point, it takes my mind off of how crazy this season has been for us, and now being in the chase and moving up in the points, being that busy has just really kept us focused on traveling and testing and trying to make the cars fast and all those things. So I can't say I've overthought it anyway. But today, it's interesting how things can change in 1 week. I mean, I don't think we're really in the thick of this thing enough for everybody to all of a sudden throw us in there. I think we got to make a bigger gap, or make up that gap. And that's why, let's see what happens after this weekend. But other people want to make it. We win, got momentum, we've been moving up in the points, and now we show up here and there's cameras all over us, and it's like we didn't make up that many points, folks. It's just so perception is pretty interesting. But within the team, it's really just more positive things that are happening, and we're just enjoying ourselves, and we're just enjoying being a part of the conversation.
Last one.
Louis Frank of Speed Week. You brought up the incident with you and Jeff here a couple years ago. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask about that incident in particular. But drivers...
I'm happy to talk about it.
No, it's actually, I had a current question, current events. Drivers will talk to each other after a race. And I was wondering, because of the chase and travel schedules, Greg says, I'm old-fashioned. I've been trying to call Jimmy. And Jimmy says, we've been texting. Is there an unwritten rule, unofficial statute of limitation in the garage, how long you have to talk to another driver after you've had a bad race incident, till you calm things down?
Oh, Lewis, you're going to get me going on this one, buddy. You know how I feel about this. I think it's ridiculous that we're texting and calling one another after incidences like that. I mean, there's only one reason you call the guy. And that's because you don't want a confrontation, you don't want an issue, you don't want the guy to wreck you at the next race, or you're worried about where you're going to finish in points and all that stuff, and so you're just trying to smooth things over so you don't have any enemies out there, but you're only doing it for your own benefits. There are very few guys out there that. Your friendship and bond off the track is stronger than your competitiveness on the racetrack. And I don't think that exists a whole lot, if any at all. So, to me, if you've made a mistake and you've done something that you regret and you feel bad about, and you genuinely feel that way, you should reach out to that guy. But it doesn't have to happen over the phone or by text. Maybe it could. Maybe it's. You wait until you get to the next race, or maybe you're at a test and you see them, and maybe let a couple of days go by and calm down and have a conversation. But again, I mean, it's usually only the guy that's concerned about what's coming back to him that's the one reaching out.
As a follow-up, so do you think drivers have a memory longer than lives then when something is not wrong?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't remember a whole lot of things, but I can tell you every time that I was, wrecked by somebody and where they rank on the list.